and hear me. I will share my screen in a moment, but as Jazz said, my name is Emily Griffiths. I'm Sport Welfare Lead here at Active Herefordshire and Worcestershire. The role has been in post a year this week actually. So yeah, we're in post. We've embedded the programme sort of internally. We're now starting to bring that sort of out to yourselves, out to communities. So the idea of today's session is very informal. It's not a training session. It's not a workshop. It's really just a case of bringing yourselves together as professionals that are working in the space of physical activity, or working with those who do facilitate physical activity sessions, really just so that you can understand the role, another area of support that us as an active partnership can provide to yourselves. So I will share my screen. If somebody could just give me a heads up that you can see my screen okay. Perfect. I've had a couple of thumbs up and a thumbs up from Jazz on the other side of the room, so we're all good. So yeah, just a quick one really. You've met myself, you've met Jazz, so we will be hosting this one together. So what we'll be covering today, I'll just do a quick introduction as to sort of where we're at, which I've done already. What active partnerships are. I'm aware that some of you already engage with ourselves or have engaged with the Active Partnership Network previously, but for some of you this may be new, so just to be able to give you a little bit of an understanding as to what we do. How this role came about, so that you can sort of understand that story of how we've got to the position that we're in now, what the offer is of the sport welfare role, and then also sort of why we're here, why we've brought yourselves here together, and sort of where we go to from there. So what are active partnerships? So active partnerships were formerly known as county sport partnerships. So you may have heard of those in the past. So we are part of, as Active Herefordshire Worcestershire, we are part of the National Active Partnership Organisation. So there are 43 active partnerships across the country. And when we say country, that is England. The other home nations do have respective areas and setups, but we are based across England. We are a charity, so we are profiteers. We're non-profit, and our funding does come from Sport England and the National Lottery. So we're here to connect and strengthen the network, work with those partners who are also trying to get to the end goal, which is getting everybody active for life. So we are here as system partners. We do work together. We're trying to change the behaviours. We're trying to change what's available to people, as to how we can try to increase the levels of activity and decrease inactivity. So we are trying to change some of those approaches. We're trying to change some of the ways, and we're trying to change some of the sort of the areas where people just are not quite sure. So we do work in certain places, whether that is based on a place-based approach, which is starting to be rolled out now. So that's looking at areas, whether it's deprivation, inequalities, but also looking into sort of some of those areas where there's a little bit extra support that's needed through the inequalities and areas that need that extra bit of support. We do work under the Uniting the Movement strategy, so that is Sport England's 10-year strategy as to how to get to that end point, which is getting more people active. So we do work under that umbrella, and as part of that, the Sport Welfare Network has then been embedded into that one. So as I said, Active Herefordshire and Worcestershire, we work with a lot of partners. We're not here necessarily as delivery partners. We sometimes will deliver certain parts, but we also then use an awful lot of partners to deliver on our behalf. But we are here of more of that sort of systemic change and how we can try and change behaviours and mentalities towards the thoughts of physical activity. So how did the sport welfare come about? So back in 2022, there was an independent review that was done into British gymnastics by Anne White. And from that point, the White Review was created and published. So this was about the unfortunate findings that were within British gymnastics as a governing body, and then with their respective clubs. There were a number of safeguarding and welfare issues with their members within their workforce, and it was just a case of actually this needs to be brought to light to know that actually it's happening. But as part of that, Sport England then came up with a number of commitments that they would meet and they would work towards to reduce the risk of this one happening again. Part of that one was to bring in the Sport Welfare Network. So there are 63 officers that are placed within active partnerships. As I said on my last slide, there's 43 active partnerships, there's 63 officers. So doing the maths, there's some active partnerships that do have more than one officer in post. Active Herefordshire and Worcestershire, it's just me, so I do cover the 2 counties. And we are placed within the active partnerships to be able to work with active partnerships themselves to still be heading in the direction that they are going, and being able to add that layer of support to clubs, organisations and groups who are taking part in physical activity and sport. We do then link in with the national governing bodies, understanding the requirements that they need, understanding the direction that they're trying to head in, so that we can almost be that spokesperson on the ground and be that person that is trying to advocate for safer, effective culture throughout. So we do still fall under that Uniting the Movement strategy as part of Sport England's commitments, and we're still funded exactly the same way. So we don't sit in a different position to the active partnerships. We're active partnerships members of staff who are still funded through Sport England and then through the National Lottery. So the image that we've got ahead of us, and for this one, as I'm sure that there'll probably be a few of you now that will be starting to look at those words, and you'll see the words club welfare officer, you'll see the words clubs, and you'll see the word sport in there. This is our universal offer that's on a national approach, and with regards to the role, we sort of split the role. We have an element of our role that works with sports, governing bodies, affiliated clubs, but we've also then got the part of it then that works with unaffiliated clubs and organised groups. So for this session, if we in our heads change club welfare officers to workforce, if we change clubs to organisations and groups, and if we change the word sport to physical activity, this is then where this applies to yourselves. We can't change the wording of it. Otherwise, I'd have loved to have been able to make another copy of this one, but we're not allowed to. But for this one, as I said, if we look at the club welfare officers being your workforce, your clubs being organised groups, and then your sport being changed to physical activity, hopefully you can understand sort of the direction that we're taking this one. So if we looked in that top left-hand corner, so the purple arrow, which is connect, so we're looking at connecting workforces and groups to be able to work with other organisations and build relationships to be able to share best practice. On the right-hand side then, in that light blue area, we're here to offer support to then work with the workforce groups to try and create that safer and more inclusive culture within. Down to the bottom left-hand side, we're here to enable. So we enable that workforce and volunteers to create that safer, inclusive environment through facilitation of shared learning, training and resources, which I'll be able to touch upon as well. And then on that bottom right-hand side, we've then got the raise and awareness. So raising that awareness about welfare issues in general, gather any local insight, and then be able to promote safeguarding campaigns, which you will see that we do throughout the year with a number of groups as well. So if we take that down to the next level, sort of why we're here, why we've brought yourselves together. We brought yourselves together. We have tried in the past of going straight to community groups, and whether it's in the fact of either not quite understanding us as an active partnership, not quite understanding the role, how it can fit in, we're not entirely sure, but there wasn't really that take up. So we've sat myself and Jazz and looked at actually how can we spin this one slightly more on the head and take a different approach, and we know that we've already got relationships that are ever growing with community professionals. So there's actually a number of you that have already reached out to us and said, actually I'm already working with this group, can we link you in, etc. So we wanted to almost bring you here today to be those spokespeople. We're kind of asking a favor really to shout about us, and hopefully that you can understand the direction that we're trying to go and the support that's on offer. So a few different ways that I can provide support to yourselves and to the community groups. So that first one there of advice for safe practice for community physical activity sessions and events. Sounds really wordy, But the best bit of that one is that advice piece. So whether that is with regards to policy writing, whether that's procedures, whether that's just a little bit of guidance. Some examples that we've had, and I had a club reach out to me at that moment in time. They were just allowing adults to use their changing rooms, but there were still then junior members, and they didn't really have a setup as to how they could make their changing rooms work. They reached out to me, asked for a little bit of support, helped with their policy writing, and they're now in a position where they have a setup, they've got a procedure that is clearly showed within their clubs as to how they can make that one work. There's also guidance that we can offer around social media. So a lot of community groups we know use things like Facebook. Actually, how is the best way and how's the safest way to be able to use those groups? So there's advice on that one. There's training that we can offer, just really to try to add that extra layer of safety and protection for yourselves and the members as well. And then that last one is just with regards to the workforce. A lot of people think when we say safeguarding and welfare, it sounds really scary. It's a protection. And like I said, it's protection for not just your members, but it's protections for yourselves. Whether you're the delivery partner themselves, whether you're the instructor, or whether you're that sort of overarching holder of the events. We signpost to relevant courses and workshops. So at Active Herefordshire and Worcestershire, we do have a workforce lead, and she does organise and signpost to a number of training sessions, which we will share that information with you after the event. And on there, you'll be able to see a list of different courses that we can either signpost out to. We do also, there are two of us, Loraya, who's on the call, and myself, who are also UK coaching tutors who can deliver safeguarding courses. We do outsource first aid courses. We do work with an organisation called Buddle, who offer bite-sized learning, whether that's learning that you can do at home independently, or whether that's more of a structured session that you would like to do. But as I said, all of that information we will share. But we also then go a little bit further and we see actually what other delivery partners are available. So we are working at the moment with West Mercia Police about what bespoke sessions we can organise. So we are looking at online safety, child exploitation, which with those sessions will be readily available and advertised as well. So please do keep a lookout on that one. The next one then is that connecting community groups and national governing bodies where appropriate. So we have got some groups that are doing organised. There's one, for example, that was a table tennis club, and they've been going for a long period of time. We're also, if in the future they contact us and go, actually, we want to take this one step further, we want to take the sort of that, go down that affiliation route, we're wanting to look at that next steps. The links that we've got with governing bodies, we can link you up. We can link those groups up, but also if there's specific advice around the actual sport or the run-ins, we have got then those professionals and those experts in those areas that we can reach out to. And then the last one there is highlighting relevant information and resources. So after this session, as Jazz mentioned, we will share some resources that are available. We do at the moment, it's bi-monthly, but we've got available a resource bank that is pulled together that is based around safeguarding and welfare, but actually looking at that best practice and what it is that you could be doing. So there are templates for policies. There are some really useful sort of just little bits of information of did you knows. If there's any changes to any legislations that would be relevant to yourselves, then we do try to sort of share that. Also then looking at things like podcasts. We're very much aware that time is precious these days, and we always get to the end of the day and we go, how have we got there? But actually podcasts, how many of us sit in the car, listen to podcasts? Are there some that we could be just talking about the importance of safeguarding and welfare in there as well? So I will send out our newly launched one that was out on Saturday, just gone, but we'll also then send you the link so that you're able to then receive the updated ones as well. And then if there are any other bits that we have available, we keep those updated on our sports welfare page. And that is a case of whether, as I said, there may be pocket guides that we've got access to or downloadable documents that we can try to share that information out as well. So I did say it's going to be whistle stop, and I'm nearly there, and we can kind of open the floor to any questions. But I suppose we get to that point, don't you, towards the end, and you could go, thanks for listening. If you've got any problems, or questions, please do get in contact. But we want to sort of take that one step further. So in the ask that we're asking you to be our spokespeople, and just to sort of have a look and think as to whether this role could aid any support to yourselves or groups that you work with. We are going to host on the 26th of February, so that's a month from this week, almost a check-in session. So we're going to invite yourselves back. So those that attended the session yesterday and the session that we've run today, for you to come back and have a little bit of just we want to give you the opportunity to take away this information today, reflect on it, see whether that kind of marries up to directions of work that you're working in, whether there's any groups that you think that would benefit from the support, and just to kind of come back together. I don't want to sort of be in that one of going, right, what did you think of today, and send out a survey and you never hear from us again. We wanted to sort of start this as a new relationship and a new journey moving forwards. So you will receive the invitation for that one. And then from the 6th of March, the first Thursday of each month, I'm going to host then a monthly drop-in session. So that will, same time each week, unless there is something that crops up, but on a whole, it will be that first Thursday. And that's an opportunity for yourselves or to be able to signpost to clubs and groups for them to just pop along, really. If it's a case of actually we've got a question or we're not sure about this, just to try and start that soft touch approach. If it's something that we then need to delve a little bit deeper in, if it's something that we need to then organise a visit or something else like that, we can look at that afterwards. But it's really just an opportunity for, if there's any questions that you've got I appreciate a face on a screen rather than a face in person, but rather than it just being emails, there can be that opportunity to kind of come and ask. So there are next steps. We will send that information out. That first one on the 26th of February, that will just be for yourselves. And then the one that's on the 6th of March, if there's any communities or if there's any groups that you're working with, or if you're a member of a group yourself and you want to come along in that capacity, please do forward that link out on our behalf. That's absolutely fine. But it would be great to hear if you have forwarded it on, just so that we can know whether we've hit the right group, I suppose. So on that note, I suppose I will stop sharing and open the floor to if there's any questions or sort of any thoughts initially. Please do raise